Considering how much ammo one can go through at a day at the range, using a progressive press to reload 5.56 can be a huge time saver. However, since the 5.56 is a neck-down case, I resize and trim the brass prior to moving over to the progressive press to finish the reloading process. So let's get started. First, I'm going to clean the brass in my tumbler. Now I'm going to resize the brass, and in the process, kick out the spent primer. Now I trim the brass, chamfer the neck, and clean the primer pocket. This brass has already been decrimped. Now the part I like the least, and that's getting all the primers in the primer tube. I put them into a primer tray, shake them around to get them all oriented the right direction. Flip the primer tray over, and then one by one load them into the primer feeding tube. Now I'm going to check to make sure that the powder measure on the press is set correctly. So I'm going to zero out a spent casing, put it into the press, and drop a charge into it. This brass has a spent primer in it to keep the powder from falling out. The charge is just where I want it, 25 grains. And now I'm going to add the primers into the press. Next, I'm going to start working the brass around station by station. When I push the handle forward, it seats a primer into the bottom of the brass. And as the brass moves around, it eventually moves to the station where it gets powder. And then it will continue to move around until I manually place a bullet into the neck of the brass, where then it will be seated in the seating die. Now with the first one made, I'm just going to check its overall length, 2.200 inches, exactly where I want it. And now it's time to get cranking. I try to work quickly because I don't want to spend all my time reloading, but I'll slow down and take my time when needed to make sure I do it correctly. There's a certain rhythm that comes when reloading, and that can really work to your advantage. It helps you work through step by step, doing everything correctly and making good ammunition. Now I know what all the reloading Nazis are going to say out there. Yeah, I know my press moves when I use it, and that'll be a future project to make a better bench so that way it's more stable. The nice thing about the light strip in the press is that as the casings move around, I can actually look down inside the brass and check to make sure that there's powder in there. And after doing a couple, you know how much needs to be in there. I've used a powder cup before to check the powder, but it can be difficult to get it in such a small neck. It's easy to go through powder quickly, so keep checking the powder to make sure you have enough in the press. And well, you just keep going. Before you know it, you have 100 made. In a future video, I will show you how I set up the press going from a pistol caliber to a rifle caliber. Thanks for watching.